help me welcome up Skip Weisman.
We believe in these 7 communication habits are things that undermine motivation, morale, and trust in workplaces.
I just came out of a session with Skip Weisman, and it was a great combination of practicality and inspiration.
Skip, we absolutely enjoyed having you at this year's Nebraska SHRM State Conference. Everyone absolutely loved everything that you said, took away great things that they can take back to work. You were wonderful to work with, and we will definitely have you back someday.
We worked with Skip to do a breakout session in the afternoon. And out of the 6 speakers we did have, Skip received the highest reviews of all. So we retained Skip to do our spring professional development date.
Our communication offers us just 3 potential outcomes. One, it's either building up the relationship, building trust in the relationship, or it's slowly eroding the relationship, or it's instantly destroying the relationship. Think about those odds. You have a 67% risk every time you open your mouth of doing damage to the relationship.
I really love working with small business owners and their teams to improve communication in the workplace so that we can create a high-performing team, really that performs like a champion.
What is your #1 biggest challenge, frustration with interpersonal communication on your projects? As it relates to stakeholders, I know stakeholder management is a really big topic today in project management industry, and I talk a lot about that and interact with some of my clients on that issue. When you think about interacting with your stakeholders, the interpersonal communication challenges and issues that you face on a daily basis that drive you crazy, that you wish you could overcome, get rid of, whatever it is. So how would you answer that question? Now, to get some of these answers, I'm going to ask you to do a little interactive activity and talk to a neighbor. I'm going to give you, you'll have 2 minutes, because we don't have much time. Discuss your answer to that question. So turn to a neighbor and do that. Now, before I let you go, there's one little caveat. I know many of you come with colleagues and friends and coworkers. If you turn to that person and they're the cause of that problem, find somebody else. You have 2 minutes, go.
Skip gave several very specific tips for building trust with the key people that I interact with at work, and so I'm going to start using those immediately to improve my relationships with my work partners.
I think it'll be very valuable for all of my staff and our stakeholders to get this information.
It's all about how we frame the conversation. And most of us don't frame conversations very well. We just dive in for what we want and need, right? And that's where the defensiveness comes in from. So I find that framing it in that way, asking people for help, that sort of engages them in solutions up front. They know something's coming, but it's a much softer way to do it.
I found it really useful because you pointed out so many things that I could just nod my head when you were saying them. This wasn't theoretical talking about somebody else. He was talking about me and my experiences every day with teams.
At our dinner table here tonight, heard one of these phrases that is perfect for communication system number 4. I'm going to call him out, but he's a good friend of mine now. We've been LinkedIn buddies for at least 3 hours now, so it'll be okay, I'm sure. This is called a lack of respectful rebuttals, and I know you've been the victor and the perpetrator of this. Have you ever been on the other side of this? Oh, that's a great idea, but you did a really great job, Mark, but I'd love to give you a raise. But so we were having a little conversation over dinner, and something came up. Julian was talking about his home life and his family situation, and started talking about his wife. And I wrote this down. And his exact words were, "I love my wife, but..." This is being recorded, Julian.
People don't realize the mistakes that they're making, and as long as we take a lighthearted approach to it and realize that we're all making the same mistakes, it's very easy to allow the blame to go away and take sort of a humble approach, and we realize we're making the same mistakes that we're blaming others for doing. And once people have that aha moment, that's when a lot of everything falls away and we can really do some great work with everybody.
On your list, which we call not listening, lack of listening, right? Lack of listening is not one of the 7 deadliest communication sins. It's under this category, lack of focused attention. I get a lot of offers or requests for listening skills training. Listening skills training. I tell them I don't do listening skills training because I don't believe listening is a skill. Listening is not a skill. Listening is a choice. Right? If we have to stop thinking we need our people don't listen, we need to train them to listen. No, we don't. We need to give them a reason to listen. Again, we agreed we had an unbelievably successful financial year. I looked at Larry. I said, Larry, I'd like to discuss handing off the day-to-day general manager responsibilities and just serve as club president. Guess what he said? The best way I can explain it. Have you ever seen the movie Groundhog Day? I felt like Bill Murray in Groundhog Day. My communication with my key stakeholder was not connecting. Have you ever had a conversation with one of your key stakeholders that just was not connecting? How many of you would like your people that you communicate with to give you greater focused attention and listen more? Anybody? That'd be useful? There's 2 reasons why people were not paying attention to you. You're not commanding their attention, or you're not demanding their attention.
Made me personally think about some key conversations I've had recently and how they probably could have been better and more effective.
You heard that I was a CEO for a baseball team. Actually, it was 5 teams over 16 years of my career. What you probably don't know is that when you're a CEO of a minor league baseball team, there's a lot of small staffs, and we have to pitch in doing everything. And one day, I was literally pitching in. Our field manager asked me to throw batting practice.
He's really entertaining in the ways that he brings example from real life and his past experiences with baseball. I think it is entertaining, and those projects seem to be very straightforward and familiar for all of us.
Our field manager, the guy who asked me to throw batting practice, and he says, Skip, hold on. Kevin's right. You're trying to throw the ball too hard. Your arm speed's coming around too fast, but the ball is coming out slow, and the batter's time the pitches with the pitcher's arm speed. He says, just throw the ball normally. Don't try to be Nolan Ryan. How do you know? I must have been giving off some type of vibe, right? So from there, have you ever thought you were doing something right and you weren't, and you got some feedback? That was me. So next time I just throw the ball, and guess what? Guy hits it 350 feet over the fence. Next pitch. Hits it over there, spraying the ball all over. Every batter after that was hitting the ball all over the place. And I realized something. The job of a batting practice pitcher is not to strike out the batters. Right? But I was in my glory there, right? So I realized in that moment, as a batting practice pitcher, my job is to let the batters connect to the ball, to get warmed up for the game, to build confidence for the game. Throwing batting practice is just like communicating on a project, because how you pitch it determines how it connects. What I do when I work with clients most of the time is to really get the teams together to start really flushing out the issues in the organization, to identify and define what the cause is, and amazingly, most of the time it relates directly to a communication issue. And then once we define that as the cause, then we can define the communication issue, and then things open up from there. And it can be very rewarding for myself and the clients and the people working in the work environment. It's a lot of fun when it all comes together. It's the same when you communicate. How you pitch it determines how you connect.